As the days turned into a blur of tension and unspoken words, I found myself grappling with emotions I never thought I'd experience. Each time I caught a glimpse of Sophia, my heart would race, and my mind would swirl with images of her laughter shared with Mike. The memories of our intimate moments felt tainted, like a beautiful painting defaced by careless strokes. One evening I returned home from work, my mind still heavy with the weight of our conversations. Sophia was in the kitchen, the aroma of sautéed garlic and herbs wafting through the air. She wore a fitted black dress that hugged her curves just right, her hair cascading down her shoulders in soft waves. I couldn't help but admire her beauty, even amidst the turmoil. "Hey, Leo," she said, turning to me with a small smile. "I made your favorite, chicken Alfredo." As she stirred the sauce, the tension hung between us like a fragile thread. I watched her, entranced by the way her fingers moved, graceful and delicate. Memories flooded back. Our late-night cooking sessions, the way her laughter would fill the kitchen, and the heat of her body pressed against mine as we danced to soft music in the background. "Thanks," I replied, my voice low. "It smells great." She approached me, her gaze softening as she brushed a strand of hair from my face. The gesture felt familiar, igniting a flicker of longing within me. "I'm really sorry for everything, Leo. I want to make things right between us." Before I could respond, she leaned in closer, her warmth radiating against my body. In that moment, I was torn between the urge to pull away and the desire to close the distance, to lose myself in the comfort of her embrace once more. "Maybe we could try to reconnect?" she suggested, her breath warm against my skin. "I miss you." I hesitated, the memories of betrayal clashing with the yearning in my heart. But as her fingers traced my arm, a shiver ran down my spine. "What do you have in mind?" I asked, my curiosity piqued despite the turmoil inside. "Let's have a date night," she proposed, her eyes sparkling with hope. "Just the two of us. We can talk, reconnect, maybe even rekindle what we had." A part of me hesitated, still raw from the wounds of her betrayal, but another part craved the intimacy we once shared. "Okay," I finally agreed, the words slipping from my lips almost against my better judgment. That evening, she transformed our dining room into a romantic oasis, complete with candlelight and soft music. As we sat down to dinner, I couldn't help but admire the effort she put into making the evening special. We shared stories, laughter, and the nervous energy that hung between us began to soften the edges of my heart. Over dinner, we sipped on a rich red wine, the warmth coursing through me as the conversation flowed more freely. I found myself drawn to her, the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke passionately about her art. As she leaned in closer, I caught the subtle hint of her perfume, a mix of jasmine and something uniquely her. After dinner, Sophia suggested we take a walk around the neighborhood. The night was warm, and the stars twinkled overhead, casting a romantic glow. We strolled hand in hand, the tension between us palpable. As we walked, our fingers intertwined, memories of our passionate nights together began to resurface. Eventually, we found ourselves back home, standing in the dim light of the living room. The air crackled with unspoken words and lingering glances. In a moment of vulnerability, Sophia stepped closer, her eyes locking onto mine. "Leo, I want to show you how much I love you, how much I've missed you." Her words sent a jolt through me, igniting a mix of desire and confusion. I could feel the heat radiating from her body, drawing me closer. As she reached up to caress my cheek, I felt myself leaning into her touch, unable to resist the magnetic pull. In an instant, our lips met, tentative at first, but then igniting with a fire I thought had dimmed forever. The kiss deepened, filled with longing and regret, as if we were trying to mend the broken pieces of our love. I could taste the wine on her lips, mingling with the sweetness of her breath, and it stirred something primal within me. My hands found their way to her waist, pulling her closer as her fingers tangled in my hair. The kiss became a dance, a rhythm of passion and need, as we lost ourselves in the moment. I felt the world around us fade away, leaving only the two of us suspended in time, enveloped in a haze of desire. But as the heat between us intensified, my mind raced with reminders of her betrayal. I pulled back, breathless and confused, searching her eyes for clarity. Sophia, I don't know if I can. Please, she whispered, desperation lacing her voice. Just let me show you how much I want you. Against my better judgment, I let my guard down, surrendering to the desire that had been building within me. We stumbled into the bedroom, hands exploring, lips meeting with urgency. As our bodies pressed together, I could feel the warmth of her skin against mine, igniting a hunger that I thought had been extinguished. With each kiss, each caress, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble. The night unfolded in a flurry of passion, our bodies moving in sync as we sought solace in one another. It was a whirlwind of sensations, soft skin, warm breaths, and the intoxicating rhythm of our bodies entwined. In that moment, the betrayal faded into the background, and all that mattered was the connection we shared, the desire that burned between us. But as dawn approached, I knew the reality of our situation would come crashing back. The shadows of her infidelity loomed large, reminding me that this was a fragile reprieve, a momentary escape from the pain that awaited. As I lay beside her, the sunlight creeping through the curtains, I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Could we truly rebuild what had been shattered? Or were we destined to fall into the same patterns, repeating the mistakes that had brought us to this point? The questions lingered in my mind as I watched her sleep, her beauty soft and peaceful. I knew that our journey was far from over, and the road ahead would be filled with challenges. But for now, I held on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As the morning light spilled into the room, I lay there, my thoughts a whirlwind of emotions. Sophia stirred beside me, her features softening in the golden glow. I couldn't help but admire her, the way her hair fell across the pillow and how serene she looked in her sleep. For a moment, it felt as though the world outside didn't exist. It was just the two of us cocooned in our little bubble of intimacy. But as I watched her, the echoes of the previous night tugged at my mind, passionate kisses, whispered promises, the heat of our bodies entwined. I felt a rush of longing as I remembered how easily we had slipped back into that rhythm, igniting a spark I thought was long extinguished. Sophia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. A slow smile crept across her lips as she met my gaze. "Good morning," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep. "Good morning," I replied, my heart racing at the sight of her. She shifted closer, her bare skin brushing against mine, and I felt the familiar warmth flood back into my body. "Last night was amazing," she said softly, her fingers lightly tracing my chest. "Yeah," I agreed, swallowing hard as her touch ignited a flame within me. "It felt like we were really connected again." Her eyes sparkled with mischief, and I could see a hint of the playful woman I fell in love with. "Maybe we can keep that connection going," she suggested, her fingers now tracing the outline of my jaw, sending shivers down my spine. I felt the tension build between us again, the air thick with unspoken desire. As she leaned in closer, I caught the intoxicating scent of her skin mixed with the lingering aroma of our night together. It was enough to send my mind reeling, and I found myself caught in her gaze, unable to look away. "Leo," she whispered, her breath warm against my lips. "I want you to feel everything I feel for you." Before I could respond, she pressed her body against mine, our skin melding together like two pieces of a puzzle. My hands found their way to her waist, pulling her closer as I kissed her deeply, the taste of her lips igniting a fire I couldn't contain. Our bodies moved instinctively, a dance of passion and desire as we lost ourselves once more in the heat of the moment. I felt her warmth envelop me, her curves fitting against me perfectly, and for a brief time, the shadows of betrayal faded into the background. As our kisses deepened, I could feel the world outside slipping away. I lost track of time as we explored each other, hands roaming, breaths quickening. Sophia's fingers tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, urging me to lose myself in her completely. "Leo, please," she breathed, her voice thick with longing. "I need you." I needed her too. My body responded eagerly, each touch sending waves of electricity coursing through me. We fell into a rhythm, moving together in a way that felt both familiar and new. The bed creaked softly beneath us as we surrendered to the moment, every kiss and caress igniting a deeper connection, a shared vulnerability that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The morning light enveloped us, casting a warm glow around the room as we explored each other's bodies with newfound urgency. I could feel the weight of my worries lifting, replaced by the sheer pleasure of being together. Each sigh, each whispered name, drew us closer, wrapping us in an intimate cocoon of desire. But as our passion reached new heights, I could feel the remnants of doubt creeping back in. I pulled back for a moment, looking into her eyes. "Sophia, are we doing the right thing?" Her expression softened, and she cupped my face in her hands. "I don't know, but I want to try. I want us to be okay." Her words resonated deep within me, and I leaned in to kiss her again, allowing the heat of the moment to wash over my doubts. We moved together with a fervor that felt cathartic, our bodies entwined as we sought to erase the pain of the past. In that haze of desire, I found solace. We surrendered to the waves of passion, losing ourselves in the rhythm of our bodies, letting the morning sun witness our connection. For now, I could push aside the questions that lingered, focusing solely on the woman beside me, the love I still felt, and the hope that perhaps, together, we could find our way back to each other. As we lay intertwined, breathing heavily, I felt a sense of clarity amidst the confusion. Our journey ahead would be challenging, filled with obstacles and hard conversations, but in this moment, we had each other. And maybe that was enough to begin rebuilding what had been lost. With the promise of new beginnings flickering in the air, I held Sophia close, her warmth against my chest, and felt the fragile threads of our relationship start to weave together once more. As the morning sun continued to rise, casting a warm glow across the room, I held Sophia tightly against me, her breath steady and comforting. I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was fragile, a delicate truce in a battle that was far from over. But for now, it felt right. Sophia stirred and glanced up at me, her eyes shining with a mix of mischief and affection. "You know," she said, her voice playful, "I could get used to mornings like this." A grin tugged at my lips as I brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "I could too. If only every day could start this way." Her smile widened, and she shifted closer, the warmth of her body pressing against mine. "Well, maybe we can make it a habit," she teased, her fingers trailing down my chest, igniting a spark of desire that coursed through me. "Are you sure you're ready for that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rush of emotions flooding back. Sophia nodded, her gaze intense. "I want to be close to you, Leo. I want us to be intimate again." The sincerity in her eyes made my heart race. I felt the weight of her words, and I couldn't help but wonder if this was our chance to reclaim what we had lost. Before I could respond, she leaned in, her lips brushing against mine with a soft urgency that made my breath hitch. We fell into another kiss, one that was deeper, more passionate than before. Her hands roamed over my skin, exploring every inch of me as if she were memorizing my body. I could feel the heat building between us again, and I found myself completely lost in her touch. "Let's not hold back," she whispered against my lips, her breath mingling with mine, intoxicating and sweet. With that, she straddled my lap, her warmth enveloping me as she pressed herself against me. The sensation sent a jolt of desire coursing through my veins, and I instinctively wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her closer. As she began to move against me, I could feel the tension building, a delicious mix of pleasure and urgency. Her hands tangled in my hair, and she leaned down to kiss me deeply, our tongues dancing together as I lost myself in the moment. Every touch felt electric, igniting a fire that burned brightly between us. The world outside faded away, leaving only the two of us in our cocoon of intimacy. I could feel her heart racing against my chest, a rhythm that matched my own as we surrendered to the heat of the moment. "God, I've missed this," she murmured, her lips brushing against my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "Missed you." "Me too," I breathed, my hands exploring the curve of her back, feeling the softness of her skin beneath my fingertips. With each movement, our connection deepened, layers of vulnerability peeling away as we bared ourselves to one another, both physically and emotionally. In those heated moments, I could sense a shift within us, a willingness to face the consequences of our choices together. Sophia leaned back, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. "I want to feel you, Leo. I want to be close to you in every way." Her words ignited something primal within me, a need to not only reclaim our intimacy but to explore every facet of our connection. I guided her down, our bodies fitting together perfectly as we lost ourselves in a rhythm that felt both familiar and exhilarating. We moved in harmony, each thrust and gasp intertwining like a melody, building towards something more profound. The world outside faded into oblivion as we became lost in each other, the heat of our bodies creating an atmosphere thick with desire. As the morning wore on, we surrendered fully to the experience, every touch a reminder of our shared history, the laughter and the pain woven into our souls. I could feel the walls around my heart begin to crumble, replaced by a sense of hope and the possibility of healing. In those moments it was just us, two souls navigating the chaos of life, seeking solace in one another. The intimate connection we shared felt like a promise, a commitment to rediscover each other amidst the ruins of betrayal. Afterward, as we lay tangled together, breathless and satisfied, I couldn't help but think about what lay ahead. The path would be fraught with challenges, but I felt a renewed sense of determination. Maybe we could rebuild our lives together, brick by brick, starting with this moment of vulnerability and trust. Sophia rested her head against my chest, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "What now?" she asked, her voice soft and hopeful. I looked down at her, feeling a surge of affection mixed with the weight of our reality. "Now we take it one day at a time," I said, brushing my thumb against her cheek. "We focus on being honest with each other, about everything." Her smile brightened, and she nodded. "I can do that. I want to do that." As we lay there, a sense of peace settled over me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the beginning of something new, a chance to rebuild our marriage on a stronger foundation, one built on trust, honesty, and passion. With that thought in mind, I tightened my hold on her, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. Whatever challenges awaited us, I knew we would face them together, and for now, that was enough. As the day unfolded, we remained cocooned in our little world, the morning's intimacy lingering in the air like a sweet aftertaste. The sun streamed through the windows, casting playful patterns of light across the room as we lay intertwined, wrapped in the warmth of each other's bodies. Sophia stirred first, stretching luxuriously beside me, her movements graceful and enticing. The sheets slid down her shoulders, revealing the soft curves of her body, and I felt a familiar rush of desire wash over me. Her eyes met mine, and a playful smile tugged at her lips. "Looks like someone is enjoying the view," she teased, her voice sultry as she caught me staring. "Can you blame me?" I replied, my heart racing. "You're breathtaking." Her smile widened, and I felt a sense of playfulness return to the room. "Well, if you like what you see, maybe I should give you a little more," she suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Before I could respond, she slid out of bed, her movements fluid and enticing as she made her way to the bathroom. I couldn't help but admire the way her hips swayed, a tantalizing tease that made my heart pound in anticipation. As she disappeared into the bathroom, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. This morning had felt like a turning point, a chance to rediscover each other after the turmoil that had threatened to tear us apart. But as much as I yearned for her, I also felt the weight of our situation looming over us. Moments later, I heard the sound of running water, and an idea struck me. I slipped out of bed and followed her to the bathroom, my heart racing with excitement. The door was slightly ajar, and I peeked inside to see Sophia standing in front of the mirror, applying a splash of water to her face. She turned at the sound of my approach, a knowing smile spreading across her lips. "What are you doing, Leo? I was just admiring you from afar," I said with a smirk, stepping into the bathroom. The steam from the shower enveloped us, creating an intimate haze that heightened the air of desire. "Why not come closer?" she challenged, her voice low and inviting. Without a second thought, I crossed the small distance between us, the warmth of her body drawing me in. I reached out, letting my fingers trace the contours of her arms, feeling the softness of her skin beneath my touch. "I like this version of you," I murmured, leaning closer, our lips almost touching. The one who's playful and full of life. Her breath hitched, and she leaned in to kiss me, our lips meeting in a rush of heat. The taste of her was intoxicating, and I felt my body respond eagerly to the intimacy of the moment. Suddenly she pulled back, her eyes glinting with mischief. "If you're going to admire me, you should see me in action," she said, stepping back and turning the shower on. As the water cascaded down, I watched her step into the stream, the droplets clinging to her skin, accentuating every curve. I felt my breath catch at the sight. She looked like a goddess, illuminated by the soft light filtering through the frosted glass. "Join me," she beckoned, her voice sultry as she turned to face me, the water glistening on her body. I didn't need to be told twice. I quickly stripped off my clothes and stepped into the shower with her, the warm water enveloping us both. The heat intensified the chemistry between us, and I couldn't resist the urge to pull her close, feeling the slickness of her skin against mine. "God, you feel amazing," I murmured, my hands exploring the curves of her body as the water cascaded down. Sophia laughed softly, her hands finding my waist, guiding me as we swayed under the stream. "You have no idea how long I've wanted this," she admitted, her gaze locking onto mine with a mixture of longing and mischief. "Trust me, I think I'm starting to get the picture," I replied, my voice thick with desire. As we moved together, the steam enveloped us, making the world outside disappear. Each touch was electric, igniting flames of passion that burned hotter with each passing moment. Our bodies slipped against each other, water mingling with skin, and I felt as though we were the only two people in existence. Sophia tilted her head back, allowing the water to cascade over her hair, droplets glistening like diamonds. I reached up, letting my fingers trail through her wet strands, and she leaned into my touch, her eyes fluttering closed in pleasure. "Leo," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to feel every part of you." The urgency in her tone sent a rush of desire coursing through me, and I crushed my lips against hers, pouring everything I felt into that kiss. Our bodies moved instinctively, the water rushing around us as we lost ourselves in the moment, the world fading away into a haze of steam and sensation. With each kiss, each caress, the bond between us deepened, a shared understanding that we were willing to fight for what we had. The intimacy of the shower created a sanctuary where we could express our longing, free from the weight of the outside world. "Make me forget, Leo," she urged, her hands gripping my shoulders as I pressed against her, the warmth of our bodies igniting a fire that felt unstoppable. I complied, losing myself in her, exploring every inch of her body with my hands and lips, reveling in the way she responded to my touch. The water cascaded down, washing away the remnants of our past, and for those fleeting moments, we were reborn. Together, we created our own rhythm, each movement synchronized in a dance of pleasure and connection. The sound of water mingled with our gasps, creating a symphony of intimacy that echoed in the small bathroom. In that shower, surrounded by steam and warmth, I felt the barriers between us melting away. It was just us, reclaiming our connection, rediscovering the love that had been buried beneath layers of hurt and betrayal. As we reached new heights together, I felt a sense of liberation, a promise that we could rebuild our love, brick by brick, starting from this moment of raw intimacy. And as I held Sophia close, our bodies intertwined beneath the warm spray, I couldn't help but believe that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other after all. As the shower continued to envelop us in warmth and steam, I could feel the world outside fading away, leaving only the two of us lost in our own paradise. The water cascaded down, mingling with our laughter and soft gasps, creating a soundtrack of intimacy that wrapped around us like a soft blanket. Sophia's fingers danced over my skin, tracing a path down my chest, and I felt my breath hitch as she explored with a mix of curiosity and desire. The sensation of her touch, coupled with the warmth of the water, sent shivers down my spine, igniting every nerve ending in my body. "God, you're incredible," I murmured, leaning closer to capture her lips with mine once more. The kiss was hungry, filled with the urgency of everything we had been through. It was as if we were both trying to communicate all the feelings we hadn't voiced, and in that moment, words felt inadequate. "Show me how much you want me," she whispered against my lips, her eyes sparkling with mischief and longing. With her words echoing in my mind, I captured her waist, lifting her slightly to bring her against me, the heat of her body mingling perfectly with the warmth of the water. I could feel her heart racing against my chest, and it fueled my desire further. I wanted to savor every moment, to make this encounter one that we would remember long after the water turned cold. With a gentle push, I turned her to face the wall, the slick tiles glistening beneath the steady stream of water. I pressed my body against hers, feeling the heat radiating from her skin. Sophia moaned softly, arching her back slightly as my hands traced down her sides, exploring the curves that I had missed so dearly. "You're so beautiful," I breathed, my lips brushing against the delicate skin of her neck, kissing along her shoulder, trailing soft kisses down her spine as the water cascaded around us. She let out a breathy sigh, leaning into me as I continued my exploration. I felt her shudder against my touch, and it thrilled me to know that I could elicit such a response from her. Every caress was deliberate, igniting the fire within both of us, and as I pressed against her, I could feel her need mirroring my own. "Leo," she gasped, her voice tinged with a mixture of pleasure and urgency. "Please!" I couldn't wait any longer. With a gentle but firm grip, I turned her back to face me, our eyes locking in an electrifying moment of connection. I leaned down to capture her lips once again, the kiss deepening as I felt the world around us dissolve completely. Sophia's hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer as if she wanted to merge our bodies into one. Our bodies moved in perfect harmony, the water cascading around us, amplifying the heat that surged between us. As our kisses grew more fervent, I slowly guided her back against the cool tiles, contrasting sharply with the warmth of our bodies. She gasped at the sensation, and I took the opportunity to explore further, my hands tracing the contours of her curves, every touch igniting a fire that threatened to consume us both. "I need you," I murmured against her ear, the words heavy with longing. "Then take me, Leo," she replied, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers racing down my spine. With that permission, I pulled her closer, my hands finding her thighs and lifting her legs to wrap around my waist. The sudden movement caught us both off guard, and I could feel the slickness of the water mingling with the heat of our bodies. It was an exhilarating rush, one that fueled the primal instincts deep within me. As I pressed against her, I felt her warmth envelop me, and the world around us faded into a blur. Every inch of her body felt electric against mine, and I lost myself in the sensation. I reveled in the intimacy, the connection that felt both new and achingly familiar. Our movements were rhythmic and passionate, a dance fueled by desire and the need for each other. I could feel her breathing quicken, her body responding to every thrust, every gentle caress as we surrendered to the moment, the shower a sanctuary where we could lose ourselves in one another. "Leo," she moaned, her voice a soft plea that echoed in the humid air. "Just like that," I encouraged, feeling the tension building between us, the urgency escalating with every passing second. As we continued to move together, the connection deepened, weaving a tapestry of pleasure that bound us closer. I could feel the world outside slipping away completely as we reached new heights, the intimacy of our actions filled with the promise of healing. Moments later, as we neared the edge of ecstasy, I held her gaze, feeling a rush of emotion as I captured her lips in a fervent kiss. We lost ourselves in that moment, the culmination of our desires crashing over us like a wave. As the sensations took over, I felt the boundaries between us dissolve completely. It was just us, two souls intertwined in a dance of passion and love, free from the weight of the past. When the storm of pleasure finally subsided, I held Sophia close, both of us breathless and exhilarated, the water still cascading down around us. We stood there for a moment, savoring the afterglow, the silence filled with the unspoken promise of what lay ahead. "I can't believe we just did that," Sophia said, her voice filled with awe as she leaned her forehead against mine, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "Me neither," I admitted, my heart swelling with a mix of emotions. "But it felt incredible." She smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from her, and I felt a flicker of hope in my chest. Maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter for us, one where we could learn to trust each other again and navigate the complexities of our relationship together. As we turned off the water and stepped out of the shower, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had crossed a threshold. The road ahead would be filled with challenges, but in this moment, I felt a sense of determination. Together, we could confront our past and build a future grounded in love, trust, and intimacy. With that thought in mind, I wrapped my arms around Sophia, pulling her close as we dried off. Whatever lay ahead, I knew we would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. As we dried off, I couldn't help but steal glances at Sophia, her laughter echoing in the small bathroom as she playfully tossed a towel at me. The tension that had once felt so heavy had lifted, replaced by a lightness that felt almost surreal. We had crossed a significant barrier, one that I hoped would pave the way for a brighter future. "Are you ready to face the day?" I asked, my heart swelling with a renewed sense of optimism. Sophia smiled, her eyes glinting with a mixture of mischief and affection. "Only if it includes more moments like that," she replied, her voice teasing yet earnest. I chuckled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I think we can arrange that." As we stepped into our clothes, the atmosphere between us felt charged with possibilities. Each time our eyes met, I saw the flicker of hope, the promise that we could rebuild what had been broken. The connection we had reignited during that shower was more than physical. It was a commitment to rediscovering each other, to nurturing our love amidst the shadows of the past. Over breakfast, we shared stories, laughter, and the comfortable silence that comes from knowing each other so well. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and I marveled at how a simple meal felt different now, infused with a sense of togetherness and intimacy. As we finished, I looked across the table at her, my heart full. "Sophia, I want you to know that I'm willing to put in the work. I believe we can heal from this." Her expression softened, and she reached for my hand, intertwining our fingers. "I want that too, Leo. I've missed you more than I can say. Let's take it one step at a time." I nodded, feeling a sense of resolve settle in my chest. Together. After breakfast, we decided to take a walk in the nearby park, the cool morning air invigorating as we strolled side by side. The leaves rustled gently in the breeze, and the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow on everything around us. It felt like a fresh start, a chance to embrace the future with open hearts. As we walked, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but I felt confident we could navigate the complexities together. With each step, I felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by a sense of possibility and renewal. "Let's make new memories," I suggested, looking at her with determination. "Ones that remind us of why we fell in love in the first place." Her smile was radiant, lighting up her face. "I'd love that." In that moment, I knew we were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. We had faced the storm and emerged on the other side, stronger and more connected than before. Our bond was forged in the fires of vulnerability, trust, and raw desire, a love that was resilient and worthy of fighting for. As we made our way through the park, hand in hand, I felt a sense of hope swell within me. The sun shone brightly overhead, casting a golden hue on the path ahead. It was a new beginning, a chance to write the next chapter of our lives together, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead us. And as we walked into the future, I knew one thing for certain: no matter what happened, we would face it together, two souls entwined, navigating the beautiful chaos of life and love.